Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to an impromptu edition of Driving with Mr. Met. Quick managerial search update. I wanted to talk about some news yesterday that came out, and actually last night, and I want to touch on it a little bit very briefly today. So the news last night was two tidbits. One, it was announced that Brad Ausmus does not want to manage the Mets. He declined his interview, or his second interview, or whatever it was. So that was number one. And number two, the front office or someone leaked or announced that Kevin Long is the top candidate for the job. Now, what I'm about to say is not an indictment of Kevin Long. It's not that I'm opposed to Kevin Long, but this announcement, this leak, it stinks to me. And it stinks like a franchise that sort of knows that they're going to end up settling on Kevin Long because they can't get anyone out from outside the organization to sign up to manage this team. And I might be paranoid about this, and I'm generally not, but it just feels to me like a desperation move, so that when they end up in the position where Kevin Long is named the manager, they can come out and say, "Hey, we got our man. This is who we wanted from the beginning. We told you back in the middle of October that we wanted Kevin Long, and look at that, we got him. We got who we wanted." I'm still going on record and saying that I think Joe McEwing is a much better fit. I would much rather see Joe McEwing be the manager, but whatever. Another name that came up a couple of days ago, and I didn't mention it yesterday, was Mickey Callan, from the pitching coach from the Indians. He's had an unbelievable string of success in Cleveland, turning a bunch of pitchers who, let's be honest, don't quite have the pedigree that the Mets' young pitching staff has, and he's turned these guys like Carlos Carrasco into all-stars. And so I think, with as pitching-centric as the team is and continues to be, I think having a pitching coach as the manager is a really good approach and a really good idea. So I would not be opposed to Mickey Callan being named, or at least being added to the mix of potential managers for the Mets to look at. The other one that remains high on my list is Alex Cora. And I think that to kind of go full circle back to the Brad Ausmus discussion, I think that it's pretty obvious to everybody that Brad Ausmus wants to reunite with Dave Dombrowski, who is now the general manager in Boston. Dombrowski, of course, was the GM in Detroit with the Tigers. He's the one that hired Ausmus there, and so it does make an awful lot of sense that the two guys reunite in Boston. I think that's a good thing and a good sign for a guy like Alex Cora, and I think it makes the Mets a little bit more attractive and offer for a manager like Alex Cora. So he's the other guy that I really want the Mets to be looking closely at. The wild card in everything here is that the Philadelphia Phillies also need a manager. And as much as I hate the Phillies, if I were given the choice between these two teams to manage right now, going into 2018, I have to say I would be hard-pressed not to choose the Phillies over the Mets right now. Again, from a purely managerial standpoint, not a fan standpoint, but a purely managerial standpoint, like what gives me the best chance to win. I think the Phillies have a better shot at winning sooner than the Mets do. And that's just a damn sad state of affairs for us Mets fans. But as if it can't get any worse, the Yankees climbed and crawled right back into the ALCS last night with a convincing victory over the Astros. Poorly managed game last night by A.J. Hinch, I think. But, they weren't going to sweep. I think everyone knew that. So it's still 2-1 Astros. Game 4 tonight in the Bronx. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens tonight. See if the Astros can prevent this series from getting back to even. Also tonight, the NLCS continues with Game 3 from Wrigley, Cubbies, and the Dodgers. And, of course, the hero for the Dodgers is our old friend, Justin Turner. We'll see if Turner can continue his ridiculous success in the postseason. There was a stat this morning that I saw on Twitter. Justin Turner has the second highest career postseason batting average. He's sandwiched in between Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. Yeah, I think he's batting like 470 in the postseason. So pretty good company to keep there if you're Mr. Justin Turner. Remember, the guy who barely cracked the 260 as a Met, never had an OPS higher than like 370 as a Met. Good move, Sandy. That's all for today. Again, let's pay attention to the games tonight, and I'll keep a close eye on the managerial situation. If there's more news to touch on, I'll be back later this week to do so. Until then, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. If you're not already doing so, follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. And as always, let's go Mets.